All right, everybody, I want to see how you did on your 10 through 15. So first, let's look at the answers to number 10 and number 11. So if you have your work handy from yesterday, or if you have your picture handy, if you could please check over to see how you did on 10 and 11. In both of these problems, I added the exponents. I multiplied the numbers in front. So 2 times 6 made 12. Negative 3 times 7 made negative 21. But all the exponents I added. And remember, if something has a negative exponent, you have to move it. So that's why the A moved to the bottom. And when you move it, the exponent switches to positive. Do not move negative numbers. Move things with negative exponents. Okay, now let's see how you did on 12 through 15. So I'm going to give you a few moments to look over the answers so you can see if you got them right. Okay, so on 12 and 13, you multiply exponents because if there's a power to a power, then you multiply that. So I multiplied all the exponents, but the 2 is not an exponent, so 2 got raised to the 4th. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's where the 16 came from. And on number 13, negative 3 got raised to the 2nd. So negative 3 times negative 3, that makes a positive 9. Now, if anybody got a negative 9, it could be because you used a calculator not using parentheses. So when you put negative 3 in your calculator and square it like that, versus taking negative 3 in your calculator in parentheses and squaring it, you do get two different answers. So make sure when you're taking negative 3 to the 2nd power that you put parentheses around it because you want the positive answer when you're done. Because negative 3 times negative 3 makes a positive 9. Okay. 14 and 15, I was subtracting exponents. But the front numbers, I'm just dividing. 15 divided by 3, 5. 10 divided by 2, 5. And then I subtract exponents. And remember, if you ever have the same amount on top as below, they cancel. Shoop, those W's just canceled out. And then 8 minus 3 made 5. 5 minus the 1 you don't see. 5 minus 1 is 4. Now, be careful with your negative exponents. So if you're struggling, then I suggest putting those in your calculator. So I'm just going to show you on number 15 if I had to use my calculator to help me. So I would take the top exponent, negative 4, and I would subtract the bottom exponent, negative 1, and I get a negative 3. So that's where my negative 3 came from. And then, like this one, I take the top exponent, which is a 1, and then minus the bottom exponent, which is a negative 4. And that's where my positive 5 came from. And then if something has a negative exponent, you got to move it. Okay, so now we're going on, and I'm going to look at this paper called Preparing for the Exponent Assessment. So we are wrapping up our work with exponents, and so hopefully you feel like you're getting pretty good at this. We've been working on it for a while now, so hopefully you feel pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go through some of these with you. So looking at number 1 and number 2, do you know what you're going to do with your exponents? You're going to add them. This is like the first line of the song. When you multiply some bases, add exponents. So I'm going to add my exponents. So if I add the exponents on the x's, 5 plus 4, that's 9. If I add the exponents on the y's, 7 plus negative 2, that's 5. Nobody has a negative exponent, so nobody has to move, so that's my answer. Okay, now when you see regular numbers, remember regular numbers do not follow the rules of that song. Regular numbers follow the rules that you've known for years. When things are smushed together, that's multiplication, and 4 times 5 is 20. Now everybody else has an exponent, so now we're back to adding the exponents. When you multiply some bases, add exponents. So 8 plus negative 4 is 4. Negative 3 plus negative 4, that's negative 7. And 7 plus 3 is 10. And then who's going to have to move? Mr. Y, you're moving. So if somebody has a negative exponent, you got to move it. So since he's up top, he's going to go down. And when he goes down, remember, make his exponent positive. Nobody else has to move, so the 20 stays put. The x to the 4th stays put. And the z to the 10th stays put. And that's our answer. Okay, the next line, 4 and 5. Do you know what you're going to do with these exponents? You're going to multiply them. It's like the third line of the song. If there's a power to a power, then you multiply that. So we're multiplying exponents now. Okay, so remember, everybody inside is getting raised to that outside exponent. And power to power, multiply. So 2 times 4 is 8. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24. Negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. Okay, this time I have 2 guys that have to move. Mr. N has a negative exponent and Mr. P has a negative exponent. So they're both going to move. So my N drops to the bottom. The exponent becomes a positive 24. My P drops to the bottom and its exponent becomes a positive 32. Mr. M does not have to move, so he stays on top. And that's my answer. Okay, now number 5 has a number in front. So remember, numbers in front do get raised to that power, but I do not multiply negative 2 times 3 because negative 2 is not an exponent. So numbers get raised to that outside exponent. So this means negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. What is that? Negative 8. Okay, and then now I'm back to power to a power. So if there's a power to a power, then you multiply that. So 5 times 3 is 15. So a to the 15th. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And 4 times 3 is 12. So c to the 12th. So who has to move? The B has to move. Now, I do not move the negative 8. You don't move negative numbers, you move things with negative exponents. So the B is going to be the only guy that moves. And remember, when you move him, his exponent becomes positive. Leave the A alone. Leave the C alone. And of course, leave the negative 8 alone. So don't move negative numbers, move things with negative exponents. Okay, the next 3, these all have division. So what are we going to do with the exponents? Subtract. When you divide, you have to subtract. Okay, so now I'm subtracting exponents. All right, so first, if you see regular numbers, don't subtract those because those aren't exponents. That song is about exponents, not about regular numbers. These are just 2 regular numbers with the division bar. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, but exponents we subtract. So 6 minus 2, that's 4. Remember, when you don't see the exponent, it's a 1. So 8 minus 1, that's 7. And nobody has to move because nobody has a negative exponent. Okay, let's look at number 8. Now, number 8 doesn't have any front numbers to divide, so I go straight into subtracting exponents. When you divide, you have to subtract. So 5 minus 2, that's 3. How about negative 7 minus 3? Negative 7 minus 3. That's a negative 10. Use your calculator if you have to. And when you don't see the exponent, it's a 1. So 2 minus 1, that's 1. So p to the 1 or just p. Anybody have to move? Yes, Mr. N has to move. So if something has a negative exponent, you got to move it. So I'm going to make my division bar. I'm going to go ahead and move the N. Remember, when you move it, the exponent switches to positive. The M will stay put, and the P will stay put. And that's it, and I'm done. All right, let's look at number 9. So first, I do see numbers in front. So this is 8 divided by 6. 8 divided by 6. That doesn't come out nice. Okay, I'm going to let my calculator help me. 8 divided by 6. Now, if you can reduce fractions without the calculator, by all means, do it. So remember in the calculator, when you get your decimal, go math, enter, enter. So math, enter, enter. And that reduces the fraction for you to 4/3. Okay, and then what am I doing with exponents again? Subtracting. So -4 minus -2. Use your calculator if you have to. What is that? It's a -2 because a minus and negative makes a plus, and -4 plus 2 is -2. Okay, on the end, there's an exponent of a 1. You just don't see it. What's 1 minus 3? 1 minus 3. A -2. And now the y's. 9 minus -3. 9 minus -3. And what's that? 12, because a minus and negative makes addition. So y to the 12th. And who has to move? The m and the n. They both have negative exponents, so they both have to move. So I'm going to draw my fraction bar. The 4/3, the 4 stays on top, the 3 stays on bottom, so there's my 4/3. The m drops to the denominator, switches exponent to a +2. The n drops to the denominator, switches exponent to a +2, and the y stays put, so y to the 12th stays on top. And that's our answer. Okay? All right, I have 3 problems for you guys to try for me. And those are the 3 problems that I did not do. So 3, 6, and 10. Those are the 3 problems that I want you to do for me, either on a separate piece of paper, on this paper, on your computer using Cami and your PDF. I don't care. So do these 3 problems and then take a picture of your work and post it on Canvas. And then you'll be done for me for the day. That's all. Smiley face.